Rising, it's day 205 of 365, and today's message is just on the importance of reflection. I think something that I've been learning for the Mercury retrograde is that how much comes up to really be released. And for example, I had 3 memories come up this morning, which I'll share. But yeah, I'll share them first. So the first one was, which I think I've spoken about before, but anyway. This is all primary school age, by the way. So the first one was in one of the local youth clubs, not the most popular one, but one of the local ones. I had this beautiful coral jacket, and someone broke the zip and wrote in gold pen "sexy" on the back. Obviously, I didn't go back to that youth club again, but I was so young, and then you didn't really have the mental capacity to even take it in, like even understanding what sexy meant, like what does that mean. But how weird, like what a weird thing to do to a child's jacket, and presumably it was another child, but obviously who knows. The second thing that came up was how once we was having a family do, and one of my cousin's friends' dads was pushing me on the swing, and he pushed me so hard to the point I was saying like stop, because it was going too fast and it was too high, way too high, and I actually fell off and smacked my head on the floor. And I will never forget that he held me to stop me from going to my parents. It was so weird, and obviously extremely uncomfortable, because it's like, yeah, you've hurt me really badly, and now you won't let me go. But again, I think when you're younger especially, or just in general, things fly by so quickly. But no, I think particularly when you're younger, things just happen and you kind of get on. And then the third thing was in primary school, I was having a relay race, and the boy that I was racing, as we got to the finish line, I was ahead, I was winning. He smashed my head against the concrete wall. And I guess I think these things are coming up because it's reflecting on how early the world made me feel as though the things that happened to me are things that you should just deal with. And I think that is something that's really important to reflect on, because actually all of those experiences do play a part in like how you move forward, especially if you build up this resilience and expectation to things happening. Like, oh, I expect something bad to happen to me, or I expect this human being to do this negative thing because that's what I'm used to, or the previous things have happened that show me that this is acceptable for them to behave in this way. And actually, like, taking a moment to reflect on it, even now as I'm speaking on it, it's really deep, because there were moments of real hurt. I mean, not so much the first one regarding the jacket. I mean, I did love the jacket. So it is that. I think a lot of it really is about being able to sit with your emotions, which I think today's message is about, as I said, reflection. Because when you're younger, perhaps you aren't able to really experience those emotions and experience the pain that comes from those feelings or those experiences. Like, when I've looked on it now, like, it's awful. That man, my cousin's friend's dad, like, why would you do that? It's really weird. And that's the thing again, I guess, about human beings. Like, some human beings are so strange, and like, I can't even comprehend why that would be something that you would do to a child. It's so mean and so awful. But then also the holding me back from letting me go to my parents, it was very bizarre. And then I think even like reflecting briefly on like the aftermath of that, how the matter was dealt with, and how everything had to kind of be smoothed over really quickly because of the kind of environment we were in. Because I remember my dad was ready to go mad, which was well deserved. But anyway, I say all of these things to say that when we don't have the opportunity to feel our emotions and to feel the feelings that we're having in the moment, they don't go anywhere. They stay with us, and so it's really important. I think, especially during Mercury retrogrades, and on your cycle as well. I think your cycle especially, really pay attention to what's coming up for you to release. It's so important. And I think it's also important to give yourself permission to feel all these feelings. As I say, I think a lot in like my primary years, there was a lot of time spent on like not having an awareness for or being allowed to feel your emotions. And actually, when you feel very deeply, you need to feel your emotions because it doesn't go anywhere, as I said. So it's like you need to be able to feel your emotions, and you need to know your emotions are okay. Like anger is okay and valid. Anger is telling you something is wrong and actually calling you to action. And that is where you self-abandon and self-sabotage when you don't move, when you don't behave in a way that is serving yourself when you're called to. You are causing disruption. I think even fracturing, I would say, it's like fracturing your soul almost, because you're not paying attention to your feelings. Your feelings, your emotions are very, very important, and we should never allow anyone to make us feel otherwise in this life. Like, don't ever let anyone who is not capable of feeling, not willing to feel, make you feel like your feelings are too much. Your feelings are always valid, and the most important thing is that you validate your feelings for yourself. I think that the kind of societies that we live in, people are often operating from where they're at, and so if they don't let themselves feel, and if they prefer to avoid all of their emotions, and if they prefer to abuse themselves in order to not be present, that's on them. We should never take that on board for us, and never view that as a valid way to live life, because we don't have to. Like, you can live well and healthily by feeling your emotions. You can progress. Like, feeling your emotions doesn't stunt your growth in any way. You're not any less of a human being. In fact, you're more of a human being, more of a human being if you actually feel your emotions. Your emotions and your feelings are valid. And it is really, really important to reflect on what comes up for us. You know, try and understand the why. Like, why is this coming up for me? And usually it's just because it's just a really deep wound, you know. Perhaps it was something that wasn't discussed with you, like those 3 instances, for example. It wasn't discussed in terms of how I feel. Like, there was no sit down after to say like how you feel, how do you feel about what happened. And I suppose sometimes we'd see this work as work that's done in therapy. Of course, not everyone is going to be capable and able to like converse with us in this way. But if you are able to, then do it. You know, don't feel like your way of doing things is incorrect because other people, especially other adults around you, aren't necessarily doing things in that way. You know, when I look back now to the boy smacking my head off the wall, like I hurt my eyebrow and everything, like it popped open a bit, or it was a cut. And it's like all of that because you didn't win a race, you know, like how harmful and how aggressive, and you know, what did you gain from doing that? I think what's interesting is like being able to recognise how all of these things do leave marks, even if they're small. I mean, these things that I've spoken about are minor compared to other things that have happened in my life. But the point is, and the message is, that when things come up, always reflect on them. Like, you don't have to spend ages stuck with it. But I do think, especially during these times, it's very, very important to feel it so you can release it. And it doesn't matter, as I said, I might have spoken about it before, it doesn't matter if you have to keep speaking about it. You speak about it until you're free from it, you know, until you release yourself, because that's the point. that's how you know you love yourself.